So UGA football has a handful of injuries to guys that are going to be contributors this year, right? The injury bug is hitting a lot of teams across the country. We know it's hit Texas pretty hard. It's hit Georgia hard in the past during the offseason. It's not the case this time, right? And, knock on wood, right? I don't wish this for any program. You don't want a bunch of significant injuries, especially before this even get started, before guys can even have a chance. But Georgia is dealing with a few. Roderick Robinson being one of them. Insiders saw him wearing a walking boot at one of the scrimmages recently, at the scrimmage the other day that was closed to the media. Kirby Smart addressed the media on Tuesday discussing all of the injuries that Georgia's dealing with. So let's just go ahead and talk about it. I'll go ahead and talk about Roderick Robinson. To me, that's the biggest one, right? Because Roderick is a guy that is a breakout candidate in college football, a breakout candidate for Georgia, a guy that got a lot of buzz, got a lot of reps during the spring, is Georgia's leading returning rusher with Kendall Milton and Dejan Edwards out the door, right? Branson Robinson obviously missed last season. Kirby discussed him a little bit. That's a little bit more of a positive thing, talking about how well he's come back from injury. I'm going to discuss that as well. Let's kick it off with Roderick, and I'll talk about the rest of the guys that are dealing with minor injuries. Nothing super significant, right? Maybe a little bit of hamstring, little Achilles. But Roderick's dealing with turf toe. This is what Kirby Smart said. Roderick Robinson's dealing with a little bit of a turf toe, and I don't know when he's going to become or be available. We had a good group of backs where they did good things Saturday. Saturday he was discussing the scrimmage, right? Heard that Branson Robinson played really well in this past scrimmage. We know that ETN is going to be in the fold. Cash Jones is going to be in the fold. Nate Frazier, true freshman, is going to be in the fold for this running back room for Georgia. No word on ETN, right? On whether he's going to be suspended or not for this Clemson game. DUIs in the past have been something that's cause for a game suspension. That charge got dropped. There are still other charges against him, but that DUI charge did get dropped. Kirby, this is getting published on Wednesday. This happened on Tuesday. When Kirby was asked about potential suspensions, and obviously people were asking about Trevor Etienne, he said that we'll deal with that when the time comes. So still no word on whether Trevor Etienne is going to be playing in that Clemson game or not. But if he's not, then Georgia needs to be preparing for what was projected to be its top two backs to not be available against Clemson. That's not good news, right? Just point blank, not great news, especially against one of the best defenses they're going to face all year. They're going to face a good defense in Alabama. They're going to face an improved defense in Ole Miss, a solid defense in Texas. But I think that Clemson may end up being the best defense that they play if it's not Alabama, right? It's going to be one of those two schools probably. I think Tennessee will pose some challenges, but that's later on. We'll talk about that later. Roderick Robinson, seeing that walking boot, like I said, dealing with turf toe. If I had to guess, he's not going to play in that first game. I'm not a doctor, but I think that if you're in a walking boot right now, today I'm recording this on the 20th. This is being published on the 21st. 11 days out from that game. It's too early to determine if Roderick's not going to play. And obviously Kirby has not told us about Trevor Etienne, but here's what he said about Branson Robinson. He missed last season, right? A year ago during fall camp. Ruptures the patella tendon. Thought he was going to be a really good running back for Georgia. He was coming off of a solid freshman season. Now Branson might find himself as the RB1 against Clemson, depending on how the situation goes. This is Kirby's update. I'm reading the quotes. I'll let you know when I'm done with the quote. Start the quote. Branson is a really hard worker. First of all, he came in with some tendonitis, so it was really hard for him his freshman year to push and get through. There were times at camp where he couldn't even run, so he's talking about a couple years ago, his freshman year. He never complained. He's a tough mentally and physically kid. Weird quote. He's got great parents. They pushed him. He's a great leader. From the time of the injury, he never pouted, he never cried, talking about the patella a year ago. He just understood that it was part of the game and that it was a significant injury. For him to come back and not really get to go through spring full speed, he did some things in the spring, but he didn't get to go full speed. It's been great having him back from a physical toughness standpoint, a reliability standpoint, ball security, third down pickup, special teams. He's just a really good football player. I love the way he went about doing things. That's the end of the quote. So, like I said, Branson Robinson missed the entire year last year, and then he ended up missing the spring. But we're hearing good things, right? We're hearing good things from insiders about these scrimmages, hearing that Roderick Robinson's easily picking up long third down pickups on halfback screens, and he's breaking tackles and doing the things that we knew Branson did and could do. You're just not sure what's going to happen after a major knee injury, right? You don't know how people are going to come back. Nick Chubb is not a normal human being. Georgia's dealt with this before, right? Their star running backs getting hurt. Nick Chubb is that major example. Todd Gurley's a major example. One of the good things of Georgia is the depth, and it feels like they're back to a position this season of having that depth, something that they didn't quite have as much last year, right? This was an issue for Georgia in 2023. Branson being out for the year, Dejan Edwards coming into the year with some nagging knee injuries. Kendall Milton seemingly getting hurt every couple weeks, right? Obviously, he had a hamstring that he was dealing with. He fought through a lot of injuries. Georgia's running back room was never 100% last year. That affected how long it took Georgia's offense to get going. That was already dealing with the transition of Carson Beck and Mike Bobo. There was a lot of change in 2023 for Georgia. The running back room not being as deep and not being as healthy hurt the Dogs. With Branson coming back, even if he tans out for a game, he's not dealing with an injury. Georgia's running back room is in a much better place. I talked about this in a previous video a couple days ago, but they're in a much better place, and I think that this Roderick Robinson turf toe injury shouldn't freak people out. Moving on to the defensive line, all right? Two guys specifically dealing with some stuff. One's a little bit more positive, one was a little bit vague. Let's talk about the good first. Warren Brinson, senior defensive lineman who's coming back for another season. He could have put his name into the NFL draft, but him and Nazir Stackhouse, they both decided, hey, want to do better things at Georgia this year, want to improve our stock this year as well. He's been dealing with a little bit of an Achilles injury during fall camp. This is what Kirby Smart had to say. Warren's been working his way back. He's hitting, I think, around 75%, 85% on his GPS. He has improved each and every day. He's been dealing with a little bit of an Achilles, but that was coming into camp. It was something that we were aware of, and today he's supposed to get back and do a lot more with us. Today, as in Tuesday the 20th, this video is going out on the 21st. Georgia did not practice on Sunday or Monday. They got a couple days off, starting practice back up today, Tuesday. And look, Warren's going to be, just as he was the last couple of years, he's going to be a rotational defensive lineman. I think what you get with Georgia is a lot of rotation at a lot of positions, especially on the defensive line. I think you're going to see Brinson out there. I think you're going to see Nazir Stackhouse out there. You might see some younger guys like a Jamal Jarrett or a Jordan Hall. I think you're definitely going to see a lot of Christian Miller, right? Brinson getting back is good for leadership, and it's good for, look, as poor is not the right way to put it. Underwhelming as the defensive line was last year, right, because the expectations at Georgia are really high, Brinson's a contributor, and they need him. Moving on to Xavier McLeod. Help me out, guys. Help me out. Xavier has been dealing with a little bit of an injury. I'm quoting Kirby now. He's been pushing through and working through. We're trying to get him back. We don't know when he'll be back. That's what Kirby has to say about him. So I don't really know what the deal is there, but I do think he'll be a contributor when he's out on the field. A couple more guys. Colby Young, right? We think about this wide receiver room. You think about Ra Thomas being out the door. How that opens up some more spots at that X position. The guy on the outside. A guy who can run long routes and is going to catch some 50-50 balls, stuff like that. Colby Young is going to be one of the guys in the fold for that, especially with Ra Thomas out. We know that Dylan Bell is going to play that position as well. I think, like I said, with the defensive line, it goes for the wide receivers as well. They can rotate because they've got depth and they've got versatility and the talent that they have. Colby Young, however, is different from all the other wide receivers on Georgia's roster because this is a guy that's 6'4" and can go up and really get these balls. And I think he's going to play a role in Georgia's offense. Is he going to be a primary contributor where he's getting 50-plus yards per game? I don't think so. But I do think he's going to grab a few touchdowns for Georgia this year and be an important cog in the machine that is Georgia's offense. Colby Young's been dealing with a hamstring some, so he hasn't been 100%, is what Kirby Smart said. He's been out there, but he's not been 100%. Look, hamstrings suck, and heading into a season with a hamstring injury, ask Kendall Milton. It's not fun. So I don't think that's great news, but he's out there getting work in. Smile Munden, right? So this is another one of the positive conversations that I discussed, how Branson Robinson is positive. With Smile, dealt with injuries last year, missed this past spring with injuries, right? He didn't miss last season, but he missed this spring. So C.J. Allen, Raylan Wilson got a lot of work at the middle linebacker. Sometimes when a leader who's already proven and established gets hurt, it paves way for younger players to get those reps in. I think in a way it'll be positive that happened in the spring. But this is what Kirby had to say about Smile Munden, just reinforcing that he's been out there. Smile's practiced every day this camp. He's had some days of higher volume, some days of lower volume, but Smile's been out there doing everything. Right? He said that there's some days, I didn't include this quote in my story, but he said that there's some days where he's doing 80%, there's some days where he's doing 40%. They have the depth at that linebacker position. Out of all positions, that's one of them where they for sure have the depth. When you think about Smile Munden, you think about Raylan Wilson, you think about C.J. Allen, Terrell Foster, Troy Bowles. I didn't include any of the 5-star freshmen that they've got at that position. They're loaded at middle linebacker. And Jalen Walker, by the way, plays middle linebacker in addition to his outside linebacker roles. So I think they're in better shape. Georgia not dealing with anything significant, but does have injuries going on heading into the season. Thanks for watching.